Good day everybody, and welcome to our channel, The Audio Couple. Yes, and today we want to give a bit of feedback regarding the stereo music show that was conducted or held on the weekend of the 18th of June at Carnival Entertainment Centre. And I must say, yes, we were quite excited to go to the show because there's a lot of promise, and remember we had the interview with Joel Copping, in my mind, or for me, quite a legend in our audio industry, because he has got a lot of knowledge, quite a veteran of audio equipment in South Africa, and also a well-known reviewer. So but anyway, yes, we went on the Saturday. Our slot was between 12 and 3 o'clock, and everything was just well organized, I must say. So hats off to Joel, Joel Copping himself, and also Andre Stein from Simply Electronics that arranged everything. And then also thank you to Lee Richardson for ensuring that all the admin was done, etc. Registering us and also welcoming us at the event. So yes, we can just say that everything was well organized.
It was well organized from step one.
Then basically on the actual show, like I said, it was a 3-hour session, and we were divided. There was around 35 to maximum 50 people per session, and in our session I would say it was closer to about 30, maybe it was 35, about 35 people, and there was 3 auditioning rooms, and I think I've listened to a total of 5 systems. That could be that there was maybe 1 extra system, but I remember clearly that I've auditioned 5 systems. And what they've done is you start with the let's call it the entry-level type system, and then all the way, to quite a big system with large floor standards, the Sonar Audio Clario 10.2s. And that was also one of the main reasons why I went, is because, of course, these big floor standards is really what I look forward to. So it was, yes, it was definitely worth the while. And then, of course, there was also some other attractions, which were actually the Lance Dixon, the Circle, his latest, turntable, latest and greatest, and yes, it was also the worldwide launch of this turntable, the Lance Dixon Circle turntable, and then of course with the big system we also listened to the Revolve turntable from Lance Dixon, his masterpiece, which is really a masterpiece, I would say. Look, and then just quickly, I think the important thing for you guys is but Nimrod, it was a nice event. Some of us was there as well, and it was nice to see everybody there. There were some familiar faces there. It was nice to talk to people about the South African audio, but just audio in general. So these type of events are very...
everybody's got a passion for
music
and audio.
Exactly, and you actually said it correct. It's actually more audio. The audio first, or the music first, and then the equipment that reproduce this audio in our listening rooms. And I think now with the worldwide situation regarding COVID, I think it's becoming more and more important for people to spend quality time at home, and then a lot of people prefer to listen to music. So music is quite an important thing, and it it gives you so much. It's the gift that keeps on giving, because it changes your mood. So when you, for me, definitely it has an impact on my mood. It always cheers me up, and this type of thing. And it, I feel, so I'm a bit of an introvert. Part of myself is an introvert. You won't say it, but it's true. So yes, it basically charges my batteries, if I can say that. But anyway, guys, sorry, to come back to the show. So. I'll ask also Teresa, her view regarding some of the equipment. But yes, like I stated, we started with the entry-level system, and there it was the Sonar Audio loudspeakers, the smaller Clario series of loudspeakers, together with a Valve audio amplifier. It's a hybrid design, it's integrated amp with what was actually quite, how can I say, different about this specific one. It had an integrated MM phono stage. Then they used the the reference acoustic. Was it a reference acoustic turntable on that? But anyway, they actually played some vinyl or long playing records, a few cuts, and it was very good. So from the start, immediately I was actually quite surprised about the audio. And each system, maybe I can give, overall, each system actually, had, for me, room-filling sound. That was so, it really was above my expectation. The reason you can think about it is it's a big room, let's call it that, auditioning area with 3 systems in there, I think in the first one, or there was basically ample space for 3 systems, which of 2 of the systems were active. What I mean is were involved in
and
the...
what I noticed, they all of them were placed in the corner.
Oh yes, yeah, that's right. The system itself, but the loudspeakers were spread out. But again, I think some of the walls were brick and mortar, but the others were temporary walls. So it was also interesting. So what we're also trying to say is the listening area, auditioning rooms weren't really perfect. It wasn't a perfect or ideal situation to audition audio systems, but all of the audio systems actually produced very exciting sound, let's call it that, and a full, for me, the signature on each of these systems was actually a full sound. I never came to a conclusion that we were missing something from the sound, full-bodied sound, and so on. So, and each of the systems were actually, had this musical overall signature, but then also full-bodied. It wasn't a thin or anything like that, and they played a variety of content. So some of the people that were there, or the systems, of course, I've mentioned already. Sonar Audio, they did most, all of the loudspeakers were from Sonar Acoustics, Sonar Audio, and this is then from Roy Whittleson, of course. Then there was also amplification provided by Valve Audio. This is, of course, Skalk Kavanagh. He was also at the show, and I've just had a quick discussion with him. Then there was also amplification provided by Peter Lotter from PL Audio, and we actually, later on the video, there is actually an interview with him. There's actually 5 interviews. Peter Lotter was one of them. Then we also had an interview with Lance Dixon from Lance Dixon Turntables, and of course he had 2 turntables at the show. The one was the new world launch of the Circle turntable with an X, not with a C. And then also he had, of course, his world beater, the Revolve turntable, which is really his masterpiece. So we also had a discussion with him, and it was quite interesting regarding Lance as well, and his his history and his experience. Then look, Hein was also there, Hein Havenga from Sound Structures. And funny enough, I always thought they were related. This is now Skalk Havenga from Valve Audio and Hein Havenga from Sound Structures. Actually, they're not related. But this is just interesting, and I only came to know it about a few, maybe a year back or so, when I had a discussion with Skalk. Anyway, and then we also had Ryan Hill there with his Magellan amplification. And that, we also had a listen to that on one of the systems, which it sounded good. We already said about Peter Lotter.
Willem
Pinaar, Willem Pinaar from Tube Phonic. Yes. With his, he had actually 3 units there. The one that I was quite interested in was the line stage. So it's a phono line stage. Fully balanced line stage with remote and very sophisticated switching and volume control systems, etc. He also had a DAC there, and there was a lot of interest on his DAC, or for his DAC. It's also a Valve design, on the analog stage, and then he had a phono stage. Also there, I noticed the unit, but I'm not sure if it was connected, but it could have been connected. But anyway, he had 3 units there, like I said, a line stage, a DAC, and then also a phono stage. Then we also had an interview with Nico van der Westhuizen and Chris Olinsky, and they are from Reference Acoustics. the turntable. Quite a nice turntable, I must say, and they had two variants there. I think the classical, and then they have actually a new variant on that. Which looked quite, for me, it's quite a nice product.
Is that the one that you can change the arm?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, on both of their two designs, you can change the arm. So it's got this, what they call, I think it's a uni-pivot type arm. I must say, interesting concept. And you can see, look, So, and really from the sound, it is a good product. Both, actually, from digital sources and from analog sources, the reproduction was just top rate. I was amazed, and it was above expectation. This is what I can say. And then if they then actually talk pricing, you actually you realize that, look, these are excellent products at very decent pricing. So that's why I say these products are really world class. So guys, you can easily support these guys. One of the showpieces there was also a Valve Audio Black Widow pre-amplifier.
The one with the Black Widow on it.
Yes.
Or
Engraven. So it was the Valve Audio Black Widow pre-amplifier and the matching Black Widow power amplifier. With the new, let's say, special engraving and how can I say?
Something different.
Industrial design,
Something
let's call it. Yeah, it was totally different. The issue for me is I was trying now to try and think about an actual product that stood out, but because of the audio performance, all of the products were really, excellent in my opinion, because at that specific level, the audio performance that you can get from the systems at their specific, cost and level. It was just mind-boggling in a way, because you didn't expect to get that type of fidelity from, let's say, entry-level system, and then as you move up, of course, you have some expectation, but then definitely each time the expectations were, it was higher than expectations, which for me was excellent. And considering the acoustic environment, you can't falter it and so on. So, yeah, all in all, I think a very good show. Good products. Look, for me, the equipment that stood out was, first of all, the Sonar Audio, the big ones, the 10.2s, the Clario 10.2s. It was just physically nice to see them, and also the sound reproduction is, it's so effortless and full-bodied and true type of reproduction. What I mean by that is it sounded very natural, and instruments were well rendered. This type of thing, and we actually listened to it on the Peter Lotte setup. He had a preamp there with two mono blocks, and even with that type of power, I think it was about a 200 watt mono blocks. Even with that type of power, 200 watt at 8 ohms, if I'm not mistaken, the speakers performed very well. I know at some other sessions they also powered it via the Valve Audio Black Widow power amplifiers, but even from the solid state design from Peter Lotte, they performed very well and very musical. Together with then the Revolve turntable that performed well, and then the actual DAC that they had, the DAC from Willem Pinaert, the Tubephonic DAC, that also sounded very well, or very good. It sounded very good. So for me, those were really some of the highlights. I can say the same about the reference acoustic turntable. Again, I think that contributed towards this full-bodied, sound that we heard. All the way from the source through to the loudspeakers, and so the systems were well matched and so on. But I think it's because also they had decent front ends like the turntables, the DACs, and so on. And that's it, basically, in a way. That's the feedback that I can give.
And all the product owners was very proud of their products, and they were like, you can see they it's their passion.
That drives them, yes, of course.
That drives them to sustain the business and go on in South Africa, because I know in South Africa it's not like not a huge market.
Yes, that's the only issue. The market's not that big. Yeah. But yes, guys, so the local community, please, support these guys. They've got excellent products, and like I said, from a sound perspective and value for money, you can't beat it. And even our international audience or viewers, try to get involved and see if you can maybe get these products to audition them, or I will always say you can trust these products to import it and get yourself a system and so on. And what is nice about Simply Electronics, this is now Joel and Andre, is they offer to do home demos. So in South Africa, if you really want or you're interested in a product and you want to actually audition it in your own room, they basically will audition this equipment in your room for you, so which is also a big plus. And then remember, there's this central portal, Simply Electronics, where you can access it via the internet, and you can view the products there, and you can either purchase it there online, or you can arrange these home demos and so on. And then guys, later on in the video, like I said, or just after our discussion, our debrief of our visit to the Stereo Music Show, we have a few interviews. There's actually 5 in total, and it for us it was really interesting to talk to the different remember, the owners, the designers, and then the creators of this equipment, and each of them actually had a very interesting story, and for me, they're very proud of their products, of course, and then and then also their background, where they come from, and where they end up now to actually produce this equipment and so on for us. But in a nutshell, that's it. But what were some final words from your side, Teresa, or impressions?
Yeah, it was good, but it was very formal. But I think it's maybe because of the COVID, because everybody was in one room, listened to one system, or the 2 systems in there, and then all of us moved to the second room, and then a third room. So it was well structured.
Yes, I think it was very well structured. Yeah,
I think I don't know what.
Well structured. I think well structured. Yeah, I think definitely it was COVID played a part. But the other part as well is that because you're listening to audio, you don't want to actually be listening to some background noise coming from another system, or let's call it my sound pollution coming from another room, or somebody else that's also auditioning equipment. So it was one system at a time, so you could really focus on the system, and I must say there wasn't people did explain the different equipment, etc., but it wasn't too much information about the system. It was just the basic how they've set up the system, and then they spoke about what is the enhanced features or the specific features, the key highlights of the specific product, and then we listened to audio. And most of the time spent there was listening to music. I tell you, we didn't spend a lot of time, chit-chatting and that type of thing. There wasn't time for that.
Some people closed their eyes. I saw there was a couple of people that closed their eyes and listened to the music.
Yeah, just go into their space and enjoy the music. So it goes to show that a lot of people listen with their full being, if I can say that, to try to absorb the music and so forth. So yes, clearly from the audience and the people that I've spoken to, they just briefly, of course, between tracks, they said that they're enjoying the show, and so hopefully Joel and Andre will put another show for us together. Maybe in Cape Town this time, we're not sure, but anyway, so afterwards I also spoke to Joel, and he said that yes, there's a lot of people that approached him and say, look guys, but now we want a second show already, or maybe a home demo or 2, and then apparently there's a lot of people from Cape Town as well that ask if they can do another show. So yes, let's hope that there's some more shows coming up, but of course it's important that these type of events also translate in some sales, or happy customers, let's call it that, and that's it. I don't know, from my side that's basically it. I had a very good show. It was enjoyable. I enjoyed myself. I did a few recordings there just for us to play back on the YouTube channel, and then of course the most important part for us was to have the interviews, so that you can also get an idea for who's the people behind these products, and it's always interesting to listen to their stories as well, and they're very committed, and they're experts in their field, definitely, and they know what they're doing, definitely, and that translates into excellent products, both from just the audio enjoyment, and then the visual aspect of the products, and then the overall engineering, the quality of the products, and that's what I want to say. So again, thank you to Joel and to Andre for arranging the show. It was really great, and of course we are here for Stereo, the Stereo Music Show.
Thank you for all the hard work.
and also a lot of arrangements that must be taken, etc. And then also thank you to Rocco Mamas. We enjoyed our lunch. So and that's it. But guys, thank you. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more of these videos, please subscribe. And if you want to have notifications, please ring the bell or press the bell. But this is us then, the audio couple, Nimrod and Teresa, signing off. Cheers. Okay, everybody, now the interviews with all the different manufacturers. First off, we have Lance Dixon, of course, from Lance Dixon Turntables. Then after him, we'll have the two chaps from Reference Acoustics, which is Nico van der Westhuizen and Chris Olinsky. And then after they've told us more about their turntables, we'll have or give Willem Pinaar some opportunity to tell us more about himself and also about Tube Phonic. And then last but not least, we'll talk to Peter Lotte from PL Audio, and then of course also Ryan Hill from Magellan. We have some good interviews for you here with good information, and it's good to know these guys better, and also what motivated them to create these special products for us. So without further ado, here's the interviews with the designers and manufacturers of the equipment. Yes, so everybody, hello and welcome. Yeah, we're here at the Audio Stereo Music Show, and we're fortunate today to have Lance Dixon with us from Lance Dixon Turntables. And yeah, thanks Lance. Yeah, look, if you can tell the viewers a little bit more about yourself and also your involvement in turntables.
Sure, of course. Thanks, Nimrod. Okay, my passion has been music all my life, and my background is furniture design and product design and so on. Spent my life doing that sort of thing, but there's no emotional involvement in the products that I've had. So eventually I got around to the point of designing a turntable, which is combining my experience in design and engineering and my passion, which is music, and of course the love of turntables. So this is my newest model called the Circle.
Oh yes, now quite a nice design, I must say. And tell us a little bit more about the highlights of the actual turntable. I know that you spoke a little bit about the suspension, which is quite unique, and then also the tone arm that you selected to.
Okay, there are a number of features. It's a heavy-duty turntable. This thing weighs 45 kilograms. There's all sorts of technology on board which insulates vibrations and stops them from moving through. On a turntable, it's very, very important to stop vibrations on the surface. So we have things like constrained layers, where you have different materials with soft layers between them, which prevents the vibrational energy from traveling through the components.
And to the cartridge.
And absolutely, you need this surface to be vibration free. You need a very accurate speed, and hence a fairly high mass platter, which is 7 kilos.
Sure.
We've got an off-board motor, which is also purposefully designed so that, again, you're minimizing vibrations from getting to the turntable. Any arm can be fitted to the turntable.
Okay.
So the arm board is adjustable, and we make an adapter mount for any size or any type of tone arm. So that is something for the potential owner to decide. They have the freedom of choice for cartridge and arm.
To fit to the unit?
Yes.
And in this case, what arm did you fit?
This is an old Alphason, which is probably about 50 years old, still going strong.
Yeah, and it looks good.
Amazing how those vinyl products actually last.
Built to last.
I hope my turntable lasts that long. It will, it's a guarantee.
No, quite an interesting story. And I must say, looking from a physical perspective, it looks still brand new. And then tell me a little bit about the cartridge. So just for...
I've chosen a medium priced cartridge. It's called a Hana from Japan. and I believe it's a nice, relatively good combination with a turntable as a starter. So if somebody was interested, I would recommend that cartridge as a possible starter. And of course the nice thing is they can upgrade and have fun with that later on.
For sure, for sure. And the Hana, is it a moving magnet?
It's a moving coil on that.
Oh, is it a moving coil? Oh, okay, interesting. Low power, so you definitely need low.
You need a good phono stage with that. And for that, in this particular demo, we've got the Valve Audio Whisper, which is a world-renowned phono stage.
Indeed.
Yeah.
As per also the show that apparently Mr. Van der Hal himself actually owned 2 of these phono
Yes,
stages.
he uses them in his testing and reference system.
Quite spectacular.
Just shows you how good some of our South African boykies are.
Indeed. I can't state it myself, can't state it enough. Then just something, the last thing is around the platter. What material that you use for the platter?
Yeah, we got aluminium, we've got a soft layer between there, and we've got acetal. This material on top is called acetal. I've chosen that specifically, having tested various types, to give the best possible sound, because in this turntable we're not using a soft mat. I believe more in the system where the record has got to be clamped directly onto the platter.
It couples.
You can only do that when your platter is inert. So due to the design, we have an inert platter, so you can put it directly on there. I believe it gives a crisper, more direct, pure kind of sound.
I hear you. No, indeed, Lance. Then just the last thing I noticed, you also get it in a different color, so I don't know if the camera can maybe move towards that side, but you also get it in the blue, but I noticed the platter is somewhat different. Is it?
That was just our machining. These that you're looking at here are prototypes. So it was just a different machining technique. We'll probably establish this blue one, I don't know if it's in view or not, but look at that. As the norm from there on.
Oh, okay. So that's typically how the fit and finish will do.
But we will offer options of colours and also for trim. So you could imagine the plinth being white and all these things being in a chrome, for example.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, for sure.
So
exactly.
I will make that any colour and combination that the client may want.
Excellent. Then just the last thing, Lance, is that look, if and the motor, is there something very specific that you'd like to highlight about the motor?
Well, the motor's in a separate pod over here with your speed controls, and the actual power supply and controller is in a little box far away down at the bottom, and that's done purposely once again so that you don't get interference from the transformer and so on from affecting the stylus. So we separate them completely.
Okay.
So we only have low voltage coming up in a shielded cable, and we've got like 5 kilogram motor pod here separate to that.
Okay, fine. And then I'm not sure if you, and pricing, can you share pricing with us as well?
Yes, indeed. Yeah. The turntable itself is available for 76,000.
76, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, including VAT.
Including VAT, yes.
Sure. And that's, but then if, let's say, a customer wants to customize it, will there be additional charges?
Only if their choice of finishes involves a little bit of extra expense, but that won't be significant.
Sure. Okay.
So they might want their platter, their plinth in black and all these fittings in gold. We'll do that.
Sure. No, that sounds good. Yeah. Then the very last one, and thanks for the interview, is that let's say you have something like this that is a serviceable part.
Yes.
Will you also support the customer with a specific part? And how quickly will you, if a customer needs a new belt, for instance, how quickly can you supply it with him? Do you keep stock, this type of thing?
Yeah, the intention is to keep stock. These are the only wear and tear items or item on this is in fact the belt, which is a very, very inexpensive item. We make it ourselves. It's readily available. It is an oil-based bearing, so we will supply in the package a couple of extra little cartridges of oil. So in a year's time or so, we'll supply a little kit. The owner can suck out the original old oil and put some new oil in, and then they're away.
Excellent. No, I think that's it. Thanks so much for taking us through that, Lance. I really appreciate your time and effort. And congratulations with this excellent product. We just wish you all success.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So guys, yeah, welcome and thank you for inviting us, Chris and Nico. So you guys started with the development of reference acoustics. Tell us a bit more about the history behind reference acoustics and how it came to about that you guys started with development of turntables.
The history of reference acoustics goes back beyond, I believe, 6 years. Me and Nico both are keen vinyl lovers, him more than me, but we both had stunning turntables that we purchased through the years. And it just came, I was sitting and listening to music one evening in actual fact, and I was thinking to myself, it's a thing that turns, why must it cost this fortune? Because we both invested in quite substantial systems, vinyl systems. And I thought to myself, why? Why all this money? Why? And I phoned Nico in the morning and I told him, listen Nico, we're going to build turntables. And he laughed at me. And we started 6 years ago, and we started off first building the machines that we're building it with. And it just went from there. It was out of really something, passion.
Let's call it passion, yeah, for sure. No, I agree. I think it's a passion. Yes, and then Nico, so then the first product that you developed, what was that again?
That was a very basic version of what this turntable is based on. It was also called Exact Basic. We only built a very limited number. It was basically started from the prototype, developed from that, and then we developed the other models from the basic model.
Sure. And was that design also based on a pivot at the back?
The arm, yes.
The arm pivot
design. The arm is basically where we started.
Sure.
Because I've been building arms before we started reference acoustics.
Oh, interesting.
And that was almost the seed.
So it's grown from the actual...
It was, in actual fact, it started, just such a long time ago. It started when I heard Nico's arm that he built for someone that was on order, that he fitted to his previous, or to his more expensive thing as turntable.
The base, the suspension,
this type of turn-arm.
Yeah, sure.
And it was fitted to his personal turn-arm. And I heard it there, and that sparked it. Something just sparked for me. And the arm with something that we can build by ourselves and design would be a world winner. We were quite pleased that and this is the end result.
Sure.
Performance-wise, like I've told the other audience earlier, if you have the opportunity to place this against competition, but we do not always have that type of opportunity, and it's not always possible.
Sure. And if I may interrupt you, sorry about that, Chris. Sure. Tell me, what is the model name for the specific turntable?
This is the Exact Ultra.
The Exact Ultra.
Yeah.
And it's in a wooden finish. Do you also get it in different finishes?
Yes.
Okay.
It comes in an acrylic finish, like the other Exacts on the show now. Black ash or the walnut.
Yeah, and beautiful. I must say, I prefer actually the walnut, and I don't know about you guys. But then, if we can just jump in quickly onto more of the technical aspects around the turntable. Look, we know it's based on a pivot design, and if I'm not mistaken, the arm is actually a carbon fiber. Is that correct?
It's carbon fiber arm. We use a dual pivot, which is a variant of a uni-pivot arm, but with the extra support, just for balance. It is a carbon fiber tone arm wand, all produced by ourselves. Should I go into the plinth?
Yes, if you could, yeah, the plinth and maybe the suspension, etc.
The plinth is included in our product, whereas you can usually buy a turntable and then add a plinth afterwards. We've built the isolation into the plinth already as part of the turntable package. Our motor is completely bespoke. It's a motor we developed, the controller we developed, so we've got absolute speed control on the motor. The materials used in the turntable itself was developed for us and is produced by a company in South Africa for us. Maximum damping, absorption, efficiency in design. In this case, we use a subplatter, which is two parts of the material with the aluminium inlay, which helps with absorption and damping.
From the bearing side.
Yeah. And then we use a double platter with its own absorption built into it. You use both the heavy weight for momentum, the specific material for damping and for isolation, and the damping in the platter then also helps further with isolating the bearing and the environment from the turntable, and also the turntable from the environment.
No, indeed. And I must say, today on the demo, it sounded exceptional. I must say, it really. And I think that is where all of this technology come together into an end result. Mm-hmm. And I must say, look, from my experience and listening to audio, it was really, you could hear that it's a winning design. And thanks for that. Anything else that you'd like to highlight from the turntable? Is there something very specific to the motor, something like that?
The motor is bespoke, so we developed the motor.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I'm aware, it is completely unique in any turntable in the world. It's the controller is a microcontroller, which we can absolutely set the speed, the acceleration and deceleration of the platters. It's a very powerful motor, which is usually, it's an exception in the industry. Usually a motor as weak as possible is used, so it can just do it so to reduce noise, which the motor can cause. In this case, it's a very powerful motor, which we make quiet in other ways. That's why it's bespoke.
Sure.
And that was part of the development and why it took all these years. We wanted something from our hearts and from ourselves.
A passion.
For us,
it
was not even a choice. Fitting a Pabst or let's for instance say a Premotec or something. It wasn't an option. We wanted to do something else. It was from the beginning. It was the difficult road, the long difficult road. We started things with this motor.
No shortcut.
It's not used in a turntable that we currently know of, like Nico said, in the world on any turntable.
I hear you, Chris. No, Nico, Chris, and thanks so much for this interview. Then I'm not sure if I can ask, but any pricing, this type of turntable, let's say the turntable as is, can you discuss pricing with us perhaps?
Yes. This model, the Ultra, is priced at 44,500. The standard exact is priced at 29,500.
I hear you.
Both of the tables, they come with tone arm. It's only cartridge that's optional. So you make your own choice and we fit it for you. Or you can purchase anything you want. You can purchase Autophon, you can purchase Kutsu, you can purchase Sumiko, what you want, we will fit it for you. So the cartridge is only the option, but the turntable comes complete with arm. Just no cartridge.
Thank you, Chris. Then just a question from my side specifically. If I wanted additional arm, because we do a lot of reviews and I want to quickly judge two cartridges, will you sell me an additional arm, for instance?
Yes,
you can have an and the nice thing about this, it's a quick swap arm. So you can have several cartridges set up already on different arms, and it takes less than half a minute to change to a different arm because it's already completely set up.
Sure.
You don't have to adjust anything. If you even get your second arm, you can only take that arm and put it on. So you can move between arms. Yeah. You don't have to have a screwdriver. You don't have to have a tool.
Well, for me, that's the solution. You see, so it's good that I spoke to you guys about this. Of course, the second arm will come at a good price. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It comes in a container to keep safe. If whenever you want to listen to. Yes.
Chris and Nico, thanks for that. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much,
really wish you all success in the future. And I think you've got a brilliant product. And from what I've heard today, it can only grow from now on.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thanks for your time and thanks for the interview. Have a good one. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Good day, Willem from TubePhonic. Welcome. I've met you in person for the first time today, but I think previous time around we had a few discussions and it was always very interesting because of your passion. But please tell us more about Willem and when this started with your preamp and the DAC, and if I'm not mistaken, you also have another product?
Phono stage?
Yes, the Phono stage, yeah. So tell us a bit more how you got involved, these type of things.
Okay, well I've always been an enthusiast and could never really afford the good stuff. So I decided about 8 years ago to start researching and deciding on valves because of the passion and the history behind valves. And actually, in the end of the day, a valve circuit is easier than a solid state circuit. So I went into valves, and it's been a long road, a lot of effort trying new things, and then ending up with a product. This is the third product as a preamp line stage.
Sure. Is this the top of the range? This is your current top of the range?
That's right.
Fully balanced design?
It's got it's fully balanced in and out, and I do the balancing by input and output transformers. So that gives you a proper balanced drive, and then tubes, and obviously for the voltage amplification, and it sounds quite good.
I hear you. No, I hear you. Then I know in a previous discussion we spoke a lot about your power supply. In your line stage, is there also something special about the power supply that you could share?
There is a lot of emphasis on the power supply. Obviously, you would like as much noise rejection as you can in audio band, and so but the power supply itself is solid state. So the regulation and the rectification is done in the solid state, and then the rest is just valves. So in the signal path, there's only valves and one set of capacitors on the output.
Sure, and then the transformers in the balanced stage.
That's right. So you have your final valve output, capacitor, and a transformer then driving your balanced lines.
Yeah, so minimal design for pure, let's call it a pure musical sound.
Right. Yeah.
And is there preference on the type of valve that you use? What is the typical one that you use?
In this preamp, I'm using the 6922 or a 6DJ8. And the 6922 is quite an easy tube in the sense that it's got a lot of gain, and also low output impedance. So you can do a lot with a single valve, two valves in this case, instead of having four valves in a circuit.
Indeed, indeed. And then lastly, I think something special about the volume or attenuation as well that you've applied?
Yeah, so the volume control is a ladder, it's a resistive ladder, which is switched with relays, and there's a microcontroller running a control bus.
Okay.
And so your impedance, your input impedance remains the same at all times, no matter what volume you're listening to.
And that's ideal. That's actually the ideal volume control, not to change the impedance or anything, a character on the actual circuitry.
Yeah, so the driving unit, whether it's a phono stage or a CD player or a DAC, if that driving unit sees the same load at all times, your sound doesn't get affected by the volume that you're listening to.
Indeed, indeed. Now you see how all these things come together in producing a minimalist type of design, but the technology behind it is actually very sophisticated to ensure a good product. Then this specific unit is the Totem LS 1.1, is that? And so top of the range, and then tell us also remote control.
It's fully remote control. I think the remote control might be behind you there. But there's 6 input channels. 3 of them are balanced and 3 single-ended. So channel selection, volume control obviously, balance, and also the mute function.
Of course, of course. And then on the balance, you've got one set balanced out and the RCA single-ended.
Single-ended out as well, yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Then what is the last that I wanted to tell you? Do you feel comfortable for sharing pricing? Can we talk pricing at this stage?
This unit is selling for 69,000 Rand.
Okay. Yeah.
But that is because of all the inputs and the channel selection. The same internal circuitry, but a cheaper version of this is 48,000 Rand. Then it has a motorized volume control and a manual channel selection.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but yeah. So some people will say maybe they prefer the manual interaction, you know. But
some don't need the full remote functionality. They just want to adjust the volume.
Indeed.
And then they'll have a cheaper system, but exactly the same internals. So you have the same sound.
Indeed. Are you? Okay, so at let's say 48 odd, you can actually have the same, let's say, sonic signature, but with this is the top of the line product, and you have some advanced, let's call it more digital type of interface.
On the input and the volume, yes.
Indeed. Willem, thanks so much. I think that's it. So if we order it as such, does it also come with a transparent top like it
Not
is?
necessarily. It's to your choice. This one was part of this demo setup, so therefore I decided the transparent top, so you can if anybody is like me, they would like to see what's happening on the inside.
For sure, for sure. I'm the same, so I actually prefer it like that. But Willem, really, thanks a lot. We had a listen to it in the setup here, and together with the reference acoustic turntable, it sounded excellent. And in the other room, I think we listened to your DAC, which is brand new, and also just from the actual sound quality, and actually from the first, real life, myself seeing it, I also see it's a top-notch design, and I also know there's a lot of care and attention that went into that. I don't think we have time today to discuss it, but I know also the power supply is very unique, and no, all these technical aspects of your equipment is really what will set it apart. And thanks for that, and it was good to meet you face to face, and thank you for your time. We really appreciate it, and all just success in your way forward.
Thank you very much.
And all the new products. Congratulations. Thanks. All right, thanks, Peter Lotte from PL Audio. I now know what the PL stands for.
Yes.
It's Peter Lotte's Audio.
Yes.
But yeah, excellent. It's actually the first time I met you in person, and thanks for that. It's always good to meet the people and have this type of human-to-human interaction. And PL Audio, we were very impressed with your preamp and your power amp. But I'm sure this didn't start quite recently. I think it's a long...
No, I think it's like most of the guys in the industry that are doing this sort of thing. Mm-hmm. It's a long road to get to a product that's worthy of putting onto or bringing to market. Let's put it that way.
For sure.
And so yes, it's been 30 years in the making. Going full time into it now for the last year and a half. Quit my job.
Congratulations. Look, I think once you take that, breach the chasm, as they're saying, it's that pivot, and I think it's very important. And look, it just shows the dedication and passion that you've now made this commitment. But before we go into a bit more of PL Audio, just tell us more about Peter and your involvement in audio, and where did your passion originate, this type of thing?
My passion started from a father who was a qualified organist. I had a mother who was a trained soprano. My father also played the piano. We always had music in the home. There was always music playing. I got involved in the electronic side of music at probably at the age of 6, when we used to have broadcast services. The SABC used to do broadcast services from the church that we were attending, and that was in Bloemfontein. And my dad would be playing the organ, my mom would be singing in the choir, and as a result of that, who had to do the recording of the service at home would be me.
Oh.
And my dad used to leave that, and I've always had a love for music. I enjoyed music from a very early age, and yeah, we were just bombarded with it, grew up with it, and loved working with the electronic side. When I'd finished school, I went and studied electrical engineering, and with an eye on doing what I'm doing now.
For sure.
So, the journey has been, the plan has been to get here, and that's me.
Yeah, 100%.
That's what I've always been doing it. So
Yes.
it's kind of, yeah.
Yeah, what an interesting story, and what, full of passion, and coming from a musical home, and then involving the electronics into that, and then creating these products.
Yes.
So, no, a very inspiring story, I must say, and now, there's a connection. No, good, Peter, and then around PL Audio, today we've listened to the preamp and the power amp, so it's a pre-power combination. And tell us a bit more about these two products.
They were developed over a period of probably the last 15 to 20 years. I started by developing something which I had finished, ready to go to market, hopefully in 2007, and I didn't like it. It really didn't, it did nothing for me, and I shelved the project. About 3 years ago, I took it out of storage, out of mothballs. Basically, having spent a lot of time in industry, growing as an individual and learning new things, approached the whole project from a completely new perspective. I think that's probably the best way to describe it. And with a change of a few components and a better understanding, that very much so, of what was happening. Took that amplifier, and that is what the fruit of what we're listening to today. That's what it went from that, which I didn't enjoy and was not happy with at all, to what we were listening to today. And that was the preamp included. The preamp I didn't even listen to all those years ago. I was so disheartened by the failure, in my view, of that particular model. That power amp, that I didn't even listen to the preamp, and the preamp was actually a gem right from the go.
You see,
I never touched it.
And you mentioned today that it's got you can either have MC or MM phono
Yes,
stage.
it is. It's basically an analog preamp. It is bipolar junction transistors from input all the way to output on the power amps. It has a phono stage
on the preamp,
and it can it will accommodate moving coil or moving magnets. The modules just be changed. That's all. That's a plug-in module that you change. So you have a moving magnet module, or you put a moving coil module in.
Sure.
And we tailor those to whichever cartridge is being used at the same time.
Okay. And then, if I may ask, Peter, you only at the moment focusing on preamps and power amps, or do you have also other products?
I have some ideas going forward. I don't know what I'm going to do. After a lot of thinking and soul searching, focusing on getting the products that are on the table now, that are to market, make sure that they're properly supported. Before I move on to doing, for example, an integrated amplifier, which would be a logical step, next step down kind of thing. It's great to have pre-powers. Not everybody has space for a pre-power combination, or the finances. So I'm looking at various things, phono stages, all sorts of things can be done, but focusing on what I am doing now, doing it well. Yes. Make sure you can back the product up, because that's a big problem in a lot of the markets now in the world. There's no backup service for the product. So you buy a product, and 5 years down the line, when you've got a problem, everyone just shrugs their shoulders, and you have to replace it with a new one.
Sure.
And we don't want to do that.
No, I hear you.
We want to support the product. So, getting back to the question, focusing on the 3 products that are on the cards at the moment, and make sure that we look after them properly, and then slowly we will expand the range.
Yeah. Then, do you feel comfortable talking pricing? What is the price on the preamp, and then maybe in the 2 different? Is the same pricing for moving coil, moving magnet?
Yes.
Is it the same price?
Yes, the same price. And then the only real difference is in the monoblocks. The monoblocks are essentially a stereo amplifier which is bridged. Okay. So they get suitably. It's the identical amplifier to the stereo amplifier, but it is suitably adjusted for bridged operation, and so you use 2 of them.
Exactly. So it's basically a balanced design.
It is then a balanced design, yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay, sure. Yeah. So then you've got the option of balance in and single in.
No, I have looked at the option of looking at balance. In fact, it was one of the questions that was raised yesterday on the show. Has it got a balanced input? And I said no. The reason being is that in a domestic environment, as a rule, it has not been found to be warranting all the additional expense, because you literally double the amplifier right the way through from beginning to end. In a studio situation, I've been in studio situations, done a lot of work with sound reinforcement. At one point worked for a company that manufactured locally. We manufactured sound reinforcement, mix amplifiers, guitar amplifiers, all that sort of thing. And there it is a necessity because of noise and long cable runs. When you've only got a meter or 1.5 meters worth of cable, even up to 3 meters of cable, balancing has not been, in my opinion, found to be a worthwhile expense. So a lot of equipment, they don't run balanced all the way through. They have a balanced input, which they then make single-ended, and the rest of the chain is then single-ended until the output that they balance it again. So are you getting the full benefit of a full balance signal and system? Not really.
You have to either go fully
you either
balanced
do it properly or it's not worth doing. And so I'm not saying it doesn't have a place and that it can't be better, but it's really expensive to do properly, and I don't think it's, that expense is not warranted in a domestic environment.
I hear you. Then just some bit of specifications on the power amplifier. So what type of power are we getting from your stereo amplifier at 8 ohms, and then the same for the mono blocks?
The stereo amplifier is 100 watts RMS into 8 ohms. It will double that into 4 ohms.
So quite a decent power supply.
It's stiff. The output amplifier, the actual amplifier modules themselves are designed, they will drive any load. They are very robust, and the whole amplifier design was such that the power supply folds first before the output stage. So it meant that I could build an output stage. I wasn't worried. I didn't have to go and worry about protecting output transistors going into operating conditions that could cause failures. I had a bulletproof, rock-solid output stage. I could probably get away with a much smaller component count, but then I have to start thinking about the transistors. Are they going to cope if I do this? Are they going to cope? At the moment, I don't worry about it. They're there to drive a loudspeaker with current, and that's what they do. So that was the rationale behind the amplifier. The monoblocks are double that power. They're 200 watt into 8 ohms, and they double their power into 4.
So it's quite good.
Yeah, it's quite a lot. It's got quite a lot of growth.
Yes.
Yeah.
And today, just for interest's sake, on the new Sonos audio,
Sonos Audios,
yes, the 10.2s, were they driven by your amplifier?
The 10.2s, those are the big three-ways that Roy's done.
Mm-hmm.
We had the first session we actually had on my PL audio preamp with phono stage. We had the Revolve turntable playing through it with the monoblocks driving the 10.2s.
Oh, okay.
And the system that we were listening to just now was Roy's Sonos Audio's 5.2s. And that was driven by the stereo 100 watt.
Oh yes, oh yeah, of course. No, and it sound, I must say, in each instance we PL featured, excellent sound. Look, I can just test.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the compliment.
So no, we really enjoyed it. But thanks, and Peter, no, thanks for having step aside and quickly from the show. The show is actually still going on,
yes.
And we really appreciate your time and effort. And excellent product, we must say, look and feel, and even just from the audio. I mean, that's the most important part.
Thank you.
And we're so glad that from a musical heart you found your passion, and that you can now dedicate it full time. And it's good meeting you, and we wish you just success.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity to actually have this conversation.
Absolutely,
muchly appreciated.
It's our pleasure. Thanks so much. Thanks for the interview.
All right,
have a good one. That's it. Hello, Ryan. It's the first time that we've met. Is now on the Stereo Music Show, and we're so delighted to hear about your product. I knew it's brand spanking new, but I mean, I think it's a couple of years or maybe months worth of work behind it. Can you tell us a bit more about Ryan and when you started, and then of course the product?
Sure. So I became an audiophile in the UK when I was a student there. I was very fortunate to have a scholarship to go to university there, and ended up buying some audio equipment. And when I came back to South Africa, at that stage the internet was in its infancy. It was literally just developing. And one of the more interesting websites that I came across right at the start was a website relating to how to modify this particular CD player that I had bought. So I remember going out very excitedly. I've always been interested in electronics in the background, but never really built anything. So my first ever soldering line experience was with surface mount devices in this CD player that I owned. Thankfully it survived my initial surgery, and basically that was the start of 25 years of tinkering. Which continued to this present moment. And in fact, the Class D Magellan audio amplifier is the outcome of a bunch of work that I've done in the Class D space. Maybe just why Class D? A very simple story. I was very fortunate years ago to pick up a set of Apogee Scintilla loudspeakers. Now, they were renowned for being an extremely difficult load. And in fact, crowd amplifiers came into being as a consequence of the fact that those were pretty much the only amplifiers that could drive these upper G scintillers and were stable into below 1 ohm loads. Until Class D came along. The trouble and the challenge with Class D is, even though it's been around for 30 years, and in fact it goes back to the 1960s actually, but 30 years in terms of most audiophile experiences with it, is that it's been very difficult to optimize, very difficult to get good sound. And there are various reasons for that. I mean, you're dealing with a switching power supply which is oscillating at a very, very high frequency. And that's causing all kinds of potential audio artifacts to come into the audio band as well.
Yes.
So getting that right is actually quite a big challenge.
I hear you. No, definitely,
Yes, yes.
definitely. And tell me, what is the frequency that you've chosen for the?
We're running at 500,000 hertz.
Oh, so that's very high. So it's
Very
500
high.
kilohertz.
Correct.
It's far outside the audio spectrum.
Correct.
And that's why your the frequency response of your unit will actually extend up to about 100 kilohertz, or even
In fact, ours goes up to 50 kilohertz.
50 kilohertz. Yeah.
Trouble is, when you get too high, you can start to pick up some of that other stuff that lives outside of that band. And you have to be quite cautious about that, because that's energizing again into the audio band potentially through various artifacts that can come through.
No, I hear you. Thanks for that. And then just at the bottom side of things, the frequency response will start at around what is it? 10 hertz. Say 10 hertz,
Yes, yes.
all the way to 50 kilohertz.
That's correct. So it's extremely wide bandwidth.
Yes.
But that's one of the advantages of this technology. I mean, of course, I think what audiophiles traditionally associate with Class D technology is a small module. And to again put that in context, I've got a crowd amplifier at home that weighs 50 kilograms. This thing weighs 15 kilograms. Now, you might say, well, that's still quite heavy for Class D. And it is. And the reason is because we basically run big heat sinks inside in order to cope with the extremely difficult load of the upper G scintilla. Remember, it drops down to 0.7 ohms in the mid-range. So in order to make sure that the heat dissipation from the MOSFETs is taken away, that's essentially what we've had to do, is use some very large heat sinks in there.
I hear you. No, thanks for that. And I must say, I actually prefer, it's a very minimalist design, but
Yes.
I like the front, the actual writing and everything. It looks very upper class,
Thank
and
you.
we actually really appreciate that. This specific unit, so on the inputs, you do balanced and...
Correct. Balanced and single-ended units. That's
Okay,
right.
sure.
Yeah.
And yes, and then quite sturdy output.
Correct. I mean,
terminals.
so basically, in fact, I've actually been tempted with the idea of potentially running 8 sets of output so that you can basically buy wire. At the moment, there are basically just 2 stereo outputs. But of course, if you double that, then potentially you can run into bi-wire with speakers like these.
Sure.
So possibly in the next production run, we might implement that.
Sounds good. Just a final question from me is it a truly balanced design, the overall design?
Okay, so in fact, I appreciate you asking that question because it's an important point.
Yes.
This is a dual mono, completely isolated, 2 separate units back to front, right from the inputs all the way to the outputs.
Sure.
So absolutely dual mono, completely 100% balanced.
Sounds good.
Yes.
Then
And that's, and sorry, just to interrupt there for a second,
Sure.
Nimrod, that is all about reducing the noise floor. I mean, the technology itself is able to accomplish such low noise floors that you should take advantage of it in practical implementation. I mean, we're setting at about 135 dB in terms of noise floor. So, I mean, that gives you a sense of how extraordinary. Some DACs are actually poorer than that, for example.
Sure. No, indeed. I think that's the common mode rejection, and that's why the balanced design. So it brings down the noise floor.
100%.
Excellent, Ryan. It was so good to meet you the first time around,
Yes,
and I'm glad that I could meet you now finally face to face. And thank you. We know it was spur of the moment interview, but we can just see the passion coming through for your equipment.
Appreciate the time. Thank you very much.
Same this side, and also congratulations with your product, and we wish you all success.
Thank you, Nimrod. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Thanks. Have a good.